I'm Jamie and welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be giving you an update on the US remake of Ghosts. Now on this channel, you know, I'm a massive fan of Ghosts and not a massive fan of American remakes of my favourite British shows. But yeah, let's see what's happening with the Ghosts remake. Let's just get into the video. I think it's important to say that I am going to try and make this video as unbiased as possible, but that is quite hard considering I'm a fan of the original version of Ghost, so it's always going to pale in comparison to the version that I like. I'm also not the intended audience for this because I'm not American. This is for American viewers. So if you're not aware, the CBS Twitter account, CBS being the channel that is remaking Ghosts, released a bunch of pictures, first look pictures, which I'll be looking at in a second, and then about an hour later released a little mini trailer. If you don't know much about the US Ghosts, then I recommend checking out my older video, which will give you kind of a look at some of the characters, and I'm basically going to be updating this video with new information and kind of analysing the trailer a bit and giving my opinion about whether or not this remake is going to be good or not. So first, I'm going to be giving you a bit more information on the US Ghosts. So, along with all the characters that we saw before, there have been a few new ones added. The first ghost is called Thorne, and he is played by Devon Chandler-Long, and he is described as a cod-obsessed Viking explorer from 1009. Now, in my video, I said that I really wanted there to be a Viking because I felt like the American history is all America is kind of new in the sense that we know America. You know, the United States of America is a very new country in relation to a lot of the other ones. But, you know, obviously I said Native American, which they did do. And also I said Viking because it's been said that the Vikings discovered America before, like, Christopher Columbus did and whatever. So I thought introducing something that far back would be kind of an interesting way to have older people in history in the show. And that is exactly what they've done. And I personally think it's a really, really good addition. The character in the trailer seems really fun. He's obviously their Robin, which I was kind of expecting, but he seems quite fun. He kind of seems a bit kind of like dumb-ish. He doesn't really know anything about kind of like what's happening at the moment, like he didn't know what a play was. But I don't know, I feel like he's definitely a fun character and could definitely introduce some cool plot. He might be a bit violent or he might be a big softie. Like, I feel like he could go either way, and I think it's definitely a very interesting character. Similar to Robin, he also messes with the lights, which isn't that original, but I think they kind of needed somebody to mess with the lights, and they went with Thorne to mess with the lights. I think this is good because I know this is very thing, but they obviously did believe in like lightning gods and stuff like that, and obviously with the Avengers, Thor can do lightning. I think it makes sense for Thorfinn to do the lights because, yeah, like I said, Vikings kind of had things with lightning already, so I definitely think that's a good addition. So in my last video I mentioned that Rebecca Wisocky was playing a character, but there was no reference to her character at all. But they have revealed it now. So her character is called Hetty, and she's a society woman and wife of an 1800s robber baron who is Sam's ancestor. So she's basically taken the role of Fanny. However, I really like this character. I think it's original. I think the idea of her being she does seem kind of very proper. And also the fact that her husband was a robber, I'm imagining like a highwayman kind of thing. And I think that is really cool. So again, her character could go down the route where she is proper, she's, you know, all good and everything, maybe doesn't know about her husband's crimes and is embarrassed about it or trying to hide it. Or what I think they should do is have her kind of like be an accomplice and kind of like a badass highwaywoman kind of thing. And I think that would be awesome. I definitely think she's going to take the role of Fanny in the way that she is kind of very demanding of Alison, or Sam as the character in the US version is called. And yeah, again, I think she's a really good character. Thorfinn and Hetty, I think, are very original. Lots of room for plots, character development. So yeah, these two are very good in my opinion. So the last ghost that they've added has no name, there's no actor's name on like any credits anywhere. I could not find a single reference to him. But he's like in a Grease, he looks like a character from Grease basically, with a leather jacket, the gelled back hair. There's not really much I can say about him. I don't know if he's just a character that they introduced in the pilot and haven't really done much with, because he was only in like 1 or 2 pictures and only in a couple of scenes in the trailer, so I literally have no idea. Maybe he could take on the role of Thomas. Maybe he's a bit of a womanizer. Or maybe he wants to be a womanizer but is not very good at it, similar to Thomas. So the Grease character actually does have a very distinct cut around his neck, so it definitely seems like he is the kind of like the American version of Humphrey. So definitely a good thing for me. I really like that. Still very odd that we haven't heard anything else about him. So another thing that was revealed was that the show actually will take place in New York, which I think is a very good choice of location because it makes sense in terms of a lot of the history. That's where kind of the first settlements were from the colonizers and everything, and where most likely the Vikings would have gone, because again I tried researching it, and while there definitely is evidence that the Vikings settled in Greenland and in kind of very, very northern America, Canada area, there isn't anything online that says that they came to the New York area. So again, we're going to have to take a pinch of salt with this because, but Vikings, I think you can, because not many people know much about the Vikings, it's one of those things that you can just say, well, yeah, the Vikings came to New York, why not? I think there was a lot of Native American settlements in New York as well, and apparently the Vikings doing what Vikings didn't get along with Native Americans in the sense that they just pillaged everything. So whether there'll be contention there between Sassapis and Thorfinn, I don't know. It doesn't really seem like it in the trailer. I'm not sure if it's a good idea or not. Also, if they do go out into New York City, there could be lots of opportunities for Sam to see more ghosts, as Alison does when she goes out into the towns and stuff like that. So for New York, we could have a lot of interesting characters that Sam could kind of bump into on the street and stuff like that. So I definitely think New York is a very, very good choice, and one that I would have gone with as well if I was coming up with the show. Another thing that we know now is that some of the characters are also going to have powers. So I've already mentioned Thorfinn being able to control lights. So the character of Trevor, who is basically the American version of Julian, can also do exactly what Julian can do and can touch and move objects when he likes and feels like it. Again, it's basically the scene when he's moving the vase is pretty much identical to the scene that Julian moves stuff. And they've also done as I mentioned, Isaac, he died of dysentery, and instead of, when we see Mary, who's covered in smoke, when she walks through people, everybody can smell smoke. When he walks through people, they can just smell diarrhea, basically, which I don't like that, to be honest. I feel while it could be funny once or twice, I feel like it's just basically a running fart joke, which I'm not a massive fan of. So one thing that I think is an odd choice is that they've got basically the plague ghosts in the basement. So my thought was, I know that the Black Death, the bubonic plague, that all happened in Europe, way before America was a thing. And so I looked it up, and so there was the big one in Europe, there was one in China, and the Black Plague did go into America, but it wasn't until the early 1900s. So it makes no sense for there to be plague ghosts. So I did some research on pandemics that happened in America, and more specifically around the New York area. And the only ones that I could find were smallpox, yellow fever, cholera, scarlet fever, typhoid, polio, measles, stuff like that. And none of them match up to the boils and stuff that we've got the characters having. So I have absolutely no idea what they're doing with that. It doesn't look like any of the illnesses that were that plagued America. Yeah, I just think it's an odd choice. They could have had smallpox. That was a massive thing in America. It doesn't make any sense. Unless there is another disease that causes those big boils that was rampant in New York City, then let me know, but it's a very odd choice. So I'm just going to go into some of the things that I did like. So I like the characters of Hetty and Thorfinn. I think they're very, very cool. Lots and lots of opportunities and really cool plot lines and really cool character development, so those are a definite win for me. I also like some of the more original characters they have done. So there's Flower, there's Alberta, Saspis I think is quite cool. So those ones I really like. I think the original characters they have done well with. They look really exciting, they're different, they're interesting. they link to the American identity and American culture. So yeah, definitely a win for me with that one. And one thing I do like about the American version a lot is it does seem like a lot of fun. It's a bit more upbeat, a bit more bubbly than the UK version, which I think is hilarious and fun anyway, but it definitely seems to kind of take it up a notch in terms of kind of just a general atmosphere. It seems a lot more kind of like upbeat, and yeah, I think it'll be fun. I can definitely imagine people liking it. So there are some things that I don't like and I don't think they've done very well. First of all, the trailer is basically the first episode. It is the first episode. It's pretty much identical to the British first episode. It was a very odd watch to look at it and to know that these characters are copied from a UK version, and the script for the pilot is pretty much exactly the same from what we've seen in the trailer, but the trailer pretty much has the whole first episode in it. Like, there's just no... Obviously, for American viewers, there would be the intrigue, but for me, the intrigue isn't there because I've seen the whole first episode, especially when all the bits that they've taken from that first episode are just repeated jokes from the UK version. Also, the trailer mainly focuses on Trevor and Pete, which is Julian and Pat, and it seems lazy to focus on the unoriginal characters, on the characters that they have simply just copied over from the UK version. I feel like they could definitely just use the other characters that they've got a lot more. I don't know whether that's going to be the case for the rest of the series, but the trailer is literally just following Trevor and Pete. And as a British viewer who loves Julian and Pat, it's very odd for me to basically see these kind of like bootleg versions of them, and it's an odd thing. Like, they've got all these really cool original characters. Like, in comparison, Trevor and Pete are kind of like the least exciting out of all the other ones. Like, we've got like a prohibition singer, like that's pretty cool. We've got a Viking, use that's cool. A Native American, we have a hippie who like died by trying to fight a bear or something. Like, those are cool original characters, use them more. So I don't know whether this is nitpicky or not, but one thing that I don't like is the fact that the ghosts all seem a bit too clean. They're all a bit too polished, which, you know, they're dead. They shouldn't be like that. Like, I know they're not, like, in the UK one, they're not all, like, all raggedy and dirty and everything, but we've got Julian with the arrow, Thomas has got blood on him, you know, Humphrey's head is off, like, and Robin is a bit dirty, Mary's covered in smoke, like, they look like people from the past, they look like people who have been injured, stuff like that. And in this one, you're telling me a Viking has no scars or no dirt on him. You're saying that the character that died of dysentery looks perfectly fine. Like, if he died of dysentery, surely he'd be, like, severely underweight. Like, his clothes could be too big for him. He could have sunken eyes and sunken cheeks because he's had dysentery. There's no marks on his body. So he walks through people and people can smell him. But he doesn't look like he's died of dysentery at all. Also, if he's an army man, why hasn't he got any scars or any cuts on his uniform? Unless he's pretty much exactly the same as the captain and died not in battle. I think it is a very American thing to have the characters be all pretty and clean and, you know, spotless. Whereas it just doesn't work, especially when they're supposed to be people from history where their cleaning standards are not up to our standards, like, at all. And they're dead. Like, they're supposed to have some sort of thing on them. And that adds to the mystery when people don't. Like, the biggest mystery for me is, like, you know, Kitty and the captain. Like, we don't know how they died because they're seemingly spotless. It's also interesting that they decided to have Sam fall down the stairs by accident, kind of related to the ghost activity because Trevor knocks over a vase that Sam then trips over. I don't know whether it's because having somebody attempt to murder the main character wouldn't go down well with audiences, whether it's best it was an accident. Again, interesting, no blood or anything on Sam. It might be to do with restrictions around what can be shown on American TV because theirs is a lot stricter than Britain is. But one thing that does annoy me is the fact that they say it's a CBS original, which in a way I guess makes sense. since it's an original show in America, but it's not an original show overall. Like, it is literally a remake. Like, don't say that it's original when you're literally copying scene by scene from the UK version. So one thing that I think they really need to do in order for this to work is to make it their own. Stop with the scene by scene remakes, because that literally never works, because our humour is different. That is a fact. And British humour and American humour is completely different. We've seen it fail time and time again. The reason why the American Office worked and is better than the British one, in my opinion, is because it made it its own. It Americanised the jokes, it Americanised the characters, and because it made it its own, it worked. I feel like this has very, very strong potential to be really, really, really good. And it could be really, really good. And I feel like they have the potential for it to do that. The actors all seem really, really good. Obviously, we don't see much of their acting in the trailer, because it's a trailer. And again, like I said, they only really focus on a few characters in the trailer. But I feel like it could work. They just need to not do it shot by shot. So one thing I will say, which I have seen happen quite a bit, is a lot of hate and negativity directed towards the actors in the US remake, which I absolutely do not stand by. The actors, I think, are the best part of it. And even if you don't like it, that does not mean that you should send hate to the cast or the crew or the producers involved in the show. Like, remember, the Idiot Six are supporting this. They are part of the production of it. So if you don't like it, that is absolutely fine. If it turns out to be terrible, then it turns out to be terrible. But that's not the actors' fault, so don't direct heat. Like, the CBS Twitter account has deleted the trailer off their Twitter because of so much hate and negativity towards it, which as an actor or as somebody who's worked on it and put in so much effort into it, it would not be nice. And I think it's not good. It's not a good look from us at all. Like, I hate remakes so much. I think they're unnecessary and they often fail. However, Ghosts, I feel, does have potential, and I think it could be a huge success. So that is the end of the video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and comment down below what you thought of the trailer and what you think is going to happen in the actual show. Yeah, so let me know what you guys thought. And if you're interested in more videos about Ghosts and British TV and looking at remakes, then give me a subscribe and I'll have some more videos out for you soon. Thank you for watching. Bye!